Hi and welcome. This is Katie Caruana. I'm back again with another Lunch and Unlearn session. And the seasonal topic this time is all about unlearning the stories we tell ourselves. And I'm here today to share continued stories that I've told myself for many, many years. And the specific topic today is all about the missed opportunity. Now, you may have heard about the very famous poem by Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken. And I'm not pretending to interpret or give the most intriguing or advanced interpretation of that poem, but I'm just going to use it as an inspiration to look into some of the stories we tell ourselves about our missed opportunities. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to add to the live stream comments. And if you watch this later on, I will pick them up and get back to you as soon as I can. Let's get to it then. And we're going to spend approximately 15 minutes together. And the reason why I'm focusing on the topic of unlearning is because I find it very fascinating to realize, both for myself but also for the people I work with, that the ability to unlearn is very, very effective to make progress and get new results, and also to allow us to be more agile in this time and age, which will probably be of a very significant factor to us being still in demand as leaders moving forward. So I'm fascinated by the unlearning as a phenomenon. And it all comes down to identifying those patterns and those actions we take unconsciously very often that are not serving us anymore, but we keep them up, we maintain them because we're not questioning them. We are going on autopilot for many, many good reasons and human reasons. And today's topic is very much about being curious about yourself and have a look at this angle about the road not taken. The missed opportunity. The reason why I've chosen this is because I've seen so many times that people come up with this kind of input to our conversations about, well, I should have done that, or I wish I'd done that in the past, or what if I'd done the other thing instead? And they spend a lot of time and thinking in the past and what could have been. And I identify that in myself as well, which is not very helpful because the only thing that matters is actually here and now. One of the things that I decided to continue to unlearn this season is all about my own thinking. So I come from a place where I used to believe that my thoughts were true and that I needed to analyze and understand them in order to make actions and improve or develop. Whereas I've come to see another perspective by switching that totally around and realizing that my thoughts may not be true. My thoughts come and go, and I don't need to understand or analyze anything. And as you all know, thoughts will change over time. But there's a reason why thoughts appear, and it's up to us what we do with them and how much impact we allow them to have on the way we appear, the way we take action, and the way we take care of ourselves. So, given that background, I'm going to start the exploration here very quickly. And some examples from what I hear from my clients when I meet them on a weekly basis, and they are sharing, why didn't I do this before? Or I should have done that in the past. Or I wish I'd done it, or I wish I'd chosen something else. And it could be regret, it could also be remorsefulness, which is a bit difficult to handle because there's a lot of shame and guilt around those topics. Now, I'm not claiming to be a psychologist, I'm not even a behavioral scientist, but I meet people very often who bring forward these type of thoughts and this type of limiting beliefs. So I think there is a good opportunity for you to maybe make a note to self about whether you identify some of those things with yourself as well. And then I will actually provide a few questions today that might be helpful for you in order to understand and maybe discover some new things that you can look into. and maybe bounce off with a good friend or exchange ideas or discuss with somebody you care about. So either use it in yourself or with someone else. Maybe this is a good starting point for you to be on discovery, which is exactly what we're going to do now. So my question to you is the following. So what stories are you telling yourself? What stories are so deeply rooted inside you that you believe them to be true? And what happens if they show up not to be true? One example that I've shared in the past is that for a very long time, I told myself that I needed to lose weight in order to improve my health. That was my story for decades. Until recently, I learned some new skills and I started to question a few things and I got some insights. And then I swapped it around and understood that maybe there's an opportunity for me to actually improve my health first in order to lose weight. So for somebody who has been struggling with this most of her life, I can tell you that's a pretty big thing to embrace and to discover about yourself. And right now, I'm 5 months down that road and it has started to improve. So by improving the health, I am continuing to lose weight. That's just an example of something that you have been carrying along for maybe, in my case, decades, maybe shorter amount of time. But it's very powerful when you're able to switch that perspective. So which type of questions do we have to, or could we use in order to discover those type of issues with ourselves? And let's look into that. So the discovery today is about charging you with a few, I would say, powerful questions that might be helpful. And maybe you would like to make a note to yourself as well to look into this after this quick session, and maybe you discuss it with somebody you trust and care about as well. The first question you can ask yourself: what are your lessons learned from your road taken? So based upon the decisions you made in your career or in your life in general, what are your lessons learned from that? What are you telling yourself about your road taken? What are you thinking about it? What are you feeling about it? And which actions are you still taking based upon that road taken? The second question you might ask yourself is the opposite. So what are your lessons learned from your road not taken? What are you telling yourself in terms of what you didn't do? In terms of maybe there is some regret or some remorse, or maybe you are comparing yourself to others and you are telling yourself stories that are not helpful in terms of making progress and focusing on things moving forward. So think about that for a while. What are you telling yourself from your road not taken? And to share a personal example, one of the things that I learned from discovering things about my road not taken was about, why didn't I do this before? Why didn't I test intermittent fasting a decade ago or even a year ago? Another thing was, why didn't I leave corporate earlier to start my own business? I decided to stay on for another 5 years after I started to consider leaving corporate. And in that space, in that decision, in that emotional space, there's a lot of learning about my values, about my limiting beliefs, about what I needed in order to feel confident enough to make that decision. And when I meet people who are in a similar situation today, I'm starting to help them just explore, what is it that they need in order to make that decision? What is it that they need to think or feel or experience? And very often, there's some very strong stories in the background. And unless we discover them, we can't unlearn them. And in order to make progress, we need to unlearn some of these things by actually having new routines in place, by actually testing new things and experimenting and getting feedback and collecting evidence of the new behavior and that things might change. So in my case, just to give an example again, the intermittent fasting thing, I delayed it. I had I had friends who did this for years, and I saw the benefits with them, but I just told myself that wasn't for me. And one of the reasons were that I told myself that it was uncomfortable and difficult to feel hungry. I could not see myself in that position, which was not really helpful. So when I started to explore that and to experiment with that, I quickly learned that what I thought for many, many years turned out not to be true. It's still not comfortable to be hungry sometimes, but I'm still here, and it's manageable. I can actually embrace it once in a while. It's not as difficult as I thought or told myself it needed to be. But then again, that was a total shift from what I had thought and believed and searched evidence for my whole life. So again, just a couple of examples now from my professional life and also from my personal life to help you maybe identify some of your own lessons learned in the stories that you're telling yourself from your roads not taken. Then there's one third question that I would like to leave you with today, and that is about trying to detach yourself from reality once in a while. And I'm not going to go all fluffy here, but I'm just going to share with you that there's one question in particular that I learned very early on as a coach. One of the few coaching questions from my early days as a coach that really had a lot of effect immediately. And this was the following. If you had a magic wand and could change something to the better, what would you choose? So if anything was possible and you could make that change happen, what would that be? And if you create an environment where people feel safe enough and free enough to expand on that, you might be onto something which will help you move from that emotional state, from that pattern that is not serving you anymore, help you unlearn what is not serving anymore, and then find a new set of behaviors that prove to be helpful to you. So those three questions I hope can be useful in terms of exploring a bit more about yourself or somebody you care about and reflect about that. And reflection is really, really important. So some of my peers are always stressing this as well, and I will just like to chime in that setting aside time for reflection on a personal note is really, really essential. There's so much noise. There's so much consumption of content. It's so easy to get distracted. 5, 10, 15, even an hour a week is often enough to make sure that you will have some peace and quiet, that you will ground yourself, and then you will return to those key questions, those powerful questions that will help you identify some of these deep patterns that help you unlearn towards something that is more beneficial and that will serve you better when you are making your next set of decisions. So with that, I will leave you with that thought. And there's more on this topic, Unlearning, on my website, Leader in Demand. There's also other materials might be helpful. So have a look in case you want to dive into this more in specific. And I'll be back next week at the same time with another Lunch and Learn and session. And the topic then will be about limiting beliefs. What is it that we tell ourselves that are so powerful that they are actually steering most of our behavior and actions in the daily lives? And that's what I would like to focus on next time. So let me know if you have any comments or if you have any questions or maybe you have some wishes for future topics. Feel free to send those via the comments or PM me and I'll take them into consideration. I wish you a nice continued day and happy unlearning. Take care until next time. Bye.